you to go for last time. Yeah, so let's talk tomorrow and we'll coordinate that, and I'll fetch.
Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, February 25th. It's a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session where we discussed personnel appointments. And speaking of which, the first item on the agenda, resolution number 1, considering the appointment of a laborer.
Resolved that Ralph DeRosa of 20 Highview Avenue, Rybrook, New York, is conditionally appointed to the position of laborer with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the results of medical examination, actually not subject to the results of medication in this case, and civil service procedures of the state of New York, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $74,451 with an effective start date of February 26, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And I'm actually going to hold off on, I'm going to probably hold off on comment from the board, assuming everyone's okay with this, until after we do the second one, and then we'll have comment on both, potentially.
Okay, sure, that's fine. And the reason there's no medical is because he's currently an employee with us already, so.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Are we voting on the resolution, or are we just voting to hold off on it?
Oh, I was going to hold, we're voting on the
You're voting to hire at this
resolution.
point.
We're voting to hire.
Okay.
I was going to
Yes.
hold off on comment until we
Okay,
get
in
through
that
the
case,
two.
yes.
Until we get through the both.
No, that's just, no, I'm old, I get confused easily.
Yeah, sorry, I should have explained it better.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 2, considering the appointment of a laborer.
Resolved that Anthony Tufo of 1 Arthur Lane, White Plains, New York, is hereby conditionally appointed to the position of laborer with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the results of a medical examination and civil service procedures in the state of New York, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $60,685 with an effective start date of February 27, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, now I want to comment on both. I guess what I should have done is hold off on the vote and done both votes at once, now that I think about it
That's all right.
differently. But, no, I just wanted to say, welcome or congratulations to both Anthony and Ralph. Just we're very excited to continue to promote and hire into our DPW. It's easy for us to sit up here on this dais and say that Rybrook is a great place to live and to take a lot of credit for what goes on in the village. But it's really the hard work of everyone involved in the village that makes this such an incredible place to live. We drive around in the middle of winter and, you drive through different communities. You always know when you enter Rybrook. If it's during a storm, the roads are in perfect shape. Our facilities, the care that's taken for everything in the village really makes it an amazing place for someone to live. And it makes it so that, residents come almost to expect these things from the village, but we know it's only because of what goes on behind the scenes, what's going on a daily basis. And so, when we get to hire and promote into these positions, it brings us a sense of pride. Knowing that, this has been, I'm sure, a rigorous process. I heard there were interviews in the field, which I absolutely love. But also knowing that we're getting people that are going to be committed to the Village of Rybrook, and so we just want to say thank you. We're very proud to have you joining us, and I'll open it up to any further comment, please.
I was just going to say, in addition to congratulating the two of them. I congratulate the village for getting the two of them, because from what I've read, they seem supremely qualified.
I concur. I think you guys are both qualified.
Same.
Your
Thank
resumes,
you.
and they,
And I would add, Ralph's been with us, working in our Parks Department. He's done really a great job for us. He's really impressed us with his skills, and, I think he's going to make a great addition to the Public Works Department now. And having the Parks experience, I think, was a nice experience as well, kind of makes everything well-rounded. They work together as a team in a lot of ways. And Anthony really impressed, I know, everybody in their interview process. He's had experience working as a part-time parks laborer in the village of Pleasantville. So I think probably, understands the nature of working in a small community and what the residents are looking for, and I'm sure we'll do a great job.
Get all the personnel things done.
Yeah, we probably should have. We'll do that next time.
Any other comments from the board? All right, well, thank you both. Congratulations to you
Thank
both,
you.
especially once we
Congratulations.
get this second vote out of the way.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you and congratulations.
It's official.
It's official. Do we want to, on a suggestion from Trustee Heiser, I think I'm going to take one more out of order, as long as we're on personnel.
Sure?
We're going to go to resolution number 13, considering a contingent appointment to the position of police officer.
Okay, now therefore be resolved that Avery Tompkins of Yorktown, New York is hereby conditionally appointed to the position of police officer with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and according to the offer letter dated February 25th, 2025, and be it further resolved, the annual salary is $64,696 with an effective estimated start date of March 26, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Again, very proud of our, of all of our departments. The police department is, a true, I say this all the time, a true community police force. We're very glad to be adding another officer, especially, it certainly makes it easier for us when it's someone who we can do I forget what it's exactly called, the reassignment. And so,
And police have several steps, so that's why this is the first of, this is the initial appointment, but there's more steps in hiring a police officer, but the board will have an opportunity to meet him at a future date.
right. And, again, we're glad to do our part to continue to keep, all of our departments, DPW, police, try to get it up to full staffing as best we can, because we know it's very difficult without full staff. And, and that's what we're about, is just making sure that we have, the positions in place so that we can continue to serve the village of Rybrook and the residents of the village. So, any questions or comments from
No.
from the board?
Yeah, very good.
And again, we'll have more opportunity to meet Officer Tompkins.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. All right,
Want to invite them up to take a read?
yeah, let's get a picture.
Picture.
Come on up, guys.
Yeah. where are we doing the picture?
Nice.
A podium?
Yeah.
Yeah, podium.
Which one?
Want
They want you up there, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
First hit, two of you guys.
That is the one in blue.
Okay.
Michael, they don't want you in the picture.
Anthony. Okay.
And you guys got it. Come on, Paul.
Greg, you're jeopardizing the lens on your camera.
And what's the guy in the back?
Good night. Congratulations.
All right. All right. So moving along, resolution number 3, considering a modification of the license and fee schedule for the 2025 summer day camp, and travel camp.
Okay, I'll read the beginning, and then maybe the board can talk about where we are. So, whereas the village board formed a summer camp subcommittee to review and make recommendations to the village board for modifications to the summer camp program, including camp rates, and whereas the summer camp subcommittee met on January 21st, 28th, and February 4th, and has made recommendations to the board for modification of this camp program, including the camp rates, and whereas the board discussed and further modifications to the 2025 summer camp rates at their meeting on February 11th, and directed the village administrator to provide further modifications which are largely needed to offset increase in recent years of rising bus cost. Now therefore be resolved that based on the most recent changes provided by the village administrator, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following modifications to the village license and fee schedule for the 2025 day camp. And there's a listing of the old day camp schedule in the resolution that's available online, as well as the new schedule. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following additional modifications to the license and fee schedule for the 2025 travel camp. And again, there's a listing of the old schedule and a listing of the new schedule.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so again, just as a little, I think this, for the public's edification, as a little bit of a background, I think normally our fee schedules are discussed as part of the budget process, which, given the way that the county operates, the budget process is typically, the budget gets released at the end of March. We then have our budget work sessions in the beginning of April. At that point, we've already advertised for camp. We've already set, the fees have already been advertised, people have already registered, it's kind of too late. So, at a suggestion by Trustee Epstein, we decided to discuss this earlier. We started a while back.
Yeah. November,
December,
yeah.
we started.
It's been so much fun, I can't keep.
We started where, we had some conversation about it. There were members of the public present at that meeting. Out of that, a subcommittee was formed. It met a couple times. There were recommendations by staff, recommendations by the subcommittee. Then there was more robust conversation about it at one of our previous meetings. And based on what the, on what the board decided at the end of that meeting, recommendations were made or directives were given to the village administrator and staff to come up with a fee schedule, basically based on, off of Trustee Heiser's suggestion, looking at 95% of the previous year's costs. And that's kind of where the conversation landed. And we, following that, Chris and staff came up with a set of recommendations that is, I believe, true to the intent of that. Slightly over what the 95% was, but starts to really get the fees more in line. Over the years, the fees had become fairly wonky, for lack of a better word, because of, sometimes it was just straight number increases, other times it was percentage increases, and so things had gotten a little out of whack on, in terms of what, where the weeks were and how they compared to each other. And that was true of both the day camp and the travel camp. Now, we certainly recognize that that costs are rising. Certainly bus costs we have to expect are going to go up. How much, we don't know. Certain things have become a little more clear since our last meeting, involving especially where the travel camp, I think it's the travel camp, where the travel camp goes to.
Which is basically a wash, so that's great.
Right,
No
some of the
increase, yeah.
locations. I think it increases
That's
by
fixed.
about $300.
Yeah,
Which
Total.
Which is total. And I'm assuming that was based on last year's numbers of campers?
comparing last year to this year.
Okay,
Yep.
right, and
Based on last year's attendance.
attendance. So, assuming it's the same number of campers, that's about a wash, so, but we do expect the cost to go up. Now, based on the conversations we've had in this entire process, I can say that I, for one, want to move this forward. We're now into late February. Parents need to decide what they're doing with their children. We need to advertise our rates and get that out there so parents can register their kids for our camp, so that, you know, they know what they're doing, and also we know the registrations. Prior to this meeting, I did have conversations with Trustee Epstein, you know, and I certainly, you know, while I would prefer to have seen the rates be lower, I'm in no position right now, especially with her not here, to argue for any changes to what had been decided at the last meeting. You know, and I'm certainly happy to open this to any other conversation here.
I was just going to say that when I made my proposal last time, I was aware of the fact there was an imperfect solution to a problem that didn't have a perfect solution. You can argue that we should keep the rates low because we want to make it as affordable as humanly possible for our residents. And then you can also argue the other extreme, which is, why should all the taxpayers have to fund the deficit for the camps? And as I say, both are perfectly legitimate positions, which is why I made the suggestion I made last time, which is, let's try to, I don't want to say split the baby, but basically try to come up with something that everybody could live with. But it is imperfect. We're all aware of the fact that it's imperfect, but it's the best we probably can do under the circumstances.
You know, first I want to commend Susan for doing a good job in all her diligent work in researching other communities with their camp fees. I think that going forward, we know we're going to be here in September talking about fees again for camp. This way we won't be behind the 8 ball for next year. And I do think that fees, unfortunately, across the board, no matter how we look at it, just like taxes, are going to go up every year. So we should follow a path of consistency of fees going up every year, whether they're minimal or, you know, something that's affordable for our residents. And I do think the village, you know, should pay for some of it. You know, I don't think it should be, you know, a wash. I think it should be, but we shouldn't be offering, you know, we should do it fair across the board. So I believe that the current discussions we had and with the resolution coming forward, I'm in favor of what we're going to do tonight.
I would make 2 quick changes to something that you said. I think we're probably better off having the conversation in October. I don't know if the book, I just don't know if the book
As soon
is
as the,
finalized.
as soon as the information's
Yeah, as soon
available.
as we have all the information,
Right,
absolutely.
exactly. So we're all prepared and the residents are
And I,
prepared for the fees.
and I don't think we necessarily need to raise the fees every year because, I mean,
Well-
who knows? 1 year fees, the prices may go down.
Oh, right.
I doubt
Well,
it's
I
gonna
doubt that's
happen.
gonna happen.
I seriously doubt it's
It's
gonna
like
happen.
saying the
But you
taxes are
never
going to
know.
go down.
I know.
That's not going to
You
happen.
say that with a straight face?
No, you see I'm smiling and laughing as I'm saying it, but you never know.
Costs
But
go
no.
up because everything goes up.
Absolutely, and I
You-
think through the conversation we've had, I think we almost have a good guideline of where we think we want to be. Again, this may change, obviously, boards change and situations change within the village. But certainly, I think we'll, once all the books are settled, we have this conversation again, see how we made out this summer, you know, see what the registration is, see how we did financially, and go from there. I think this is.
Yeah, and if I could just add,
That sounds good.
1 second.
yeah, if I could just add a couple of things, so,
One second, Chris.
and we are able to, we have accomplished some nice things here too, and we got some real clear direction on how to best approach it, I believe. So, you know, we were able to do some changes with saving some money by using our seniors bus, for instance, on 2 of the days to go to the pool over at the Carver Center, which will save us on some of the bus costs. Able to take a look, do a few more local trips to reduce some of the longer bus trip costs. So that will help as well. And on the fee structure, we've kind of simplified the fee structure somewhat, particularly on the additional child. So, and it's put some structure or self-correct the structure so that there's more regular, everyone should understand how the prices are reduced, you know, by a certain amount the longer the weeks. Additional child, a straight 15% discount. So I think it creates a little bit more understanding. It's easier for us too to communicate with the residents what those fees and the rationale for those fees. So I think there's been a lot of benefits that we've gotten out of that. this whole process.
Yeah. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you to Chris and Susan for all their hard work. I could not even imagine putting all that together. And I hate to see prices go up for camp because I know how important it is to our community. But obviously, everything is going up. It has to go up with inflation, with the times. We have to keep up with costs and still try and make it affordable to our community. So I really, again, appreciate all the hard work that everyone did. And I think this is kind of like a happy medium, and hopefully it'll make everyone happy.
Thank you. And I have to also just mention Rob Bertolotti and his staff provide a lot of the information so we could really analyze it, do a deep dive on analyzing it.
Great, yeah, and we appreciate the information that's continued to come in, But, again, I think we need to advertise, we need
Yes.
to let parents sign up. So I, for one, would like to move this forward. Any other question or
No.
comment?
Let's move it forward.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes, and thank you, Susan.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 4, considering the adoption of local adjustments for homestead and non-homestead base proportions.
Whereas on January 25th, 2005, the Board of Trustees adopted a local law relating to the adoption of homestead-based proportions, and whereas the Town of Rye Assessor has prepared homestead and non-homestead-based proportions for the Village of Rybrook's review, and whereas on February 20th, 2025, the Town Board of the Town of Rye adopted a resolution establishing 2 separate rates for the homestead for the Village of Rybrook pursuant to homestead-based proportions at a rate equal to 79.88 and more detail, and non-homestead-based proportions at a rate equal to 20.119440, and authorize the town assessor to file a statement of locally determined homestead-based proportions pursuant to Section 1903 of the Real Property Tax Law, based on the 2024 assessment roll, and which will affect the 2025-26 village budget and tax rates. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook also wishes to concur and adopt the local base proportions that will be used to establish the homestead rate and a non-homestead rate for the 2025-26 village budget and tax rates. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook hereby concurs with the Town of Rye and adopts for the fiscal year 25-26 village tax purposes homestead-based proportion at a rate equal to 79.88 and change, and non-homestead-based proportion at a rate equal to 20.11 and change. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and village administrator are authorized to sign all necessary documents to implement the purposes of this resolution, and be it further resolved the town assessor and tax collector are authorized and directed to make any filings on behalf of Rybrook and to take any initial actions necessary to implement the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
This is something that we do every year. Chris, you're better at explaining it than I am.
Sure. So
How this benefits our residents.
Yep. So basically, of the roll, 79. When Homestead was adopted, it was adopted at the time of a reevaluation of the town of Rye, and it it tries to help the residential property taxpayer. And the way it does that, it's for 1 and 2 family homes. What it did is pre-reval, you had a percentage of the value of your roll that was commercial and a percent that was residential. And in doing that, it's established before, and then after a reval, it kept that distribution. So the values were changed, but the percentage of the levy that was paying for that percentage of the roll was fixed by this homestead-based proportions. And then every year, there's an adjustment based on changes in the tax roll that will keep separate homestead and non-homestead tax rates. As a result of that, what you have before you is 79.88% of the levy, and 20.11% of the levy goes appropriately to the homestead or the non-homestead properties. If it was the actual and there was only one base, the commercial property taxpayers would be paying a lesser rate and home residents would be paying more. The rates that you see before you, which there's a choice, you don't have to have 2 separate rates, But by adopting the rates the town has put in place, you're able to provide the lowest, less payments by the 1 and 2 family homes than would normally be the case if there was one rate.
Great.
It's confusing, I know.
It is, that's why I ask you to explain.
By doing it, basically, has the commercial properties pay a greater share of the levy based on their values compared to what it would be if there was only one rate.
Right, and so having these separate rates is of great value to the homeowners
1 and 2 family homes, yeah.
in the village of Rybrook, we still know that Rybrook is a strong community to have commercial properties as well. And we look forward to having more commercial
And
properties.
the reason it has to be readopted every year is because the town of Rye, which is actually taking the action, the town of Rye just wants us to agree, and the reason they want us to agree is because you could pick anything between these rates and the actual rates if there was none, and everything in between, but this is the one that would be most advantageous to the 1 and 2 family homes.
Right. Right. Yes, please.
So how have these rates changed from last year?
I'd have to look at last year's resolution.
Oh,
Let's see.
okay. Has it gone up or down, or they stayed the
The
same?
general
I'll have to look and
idea
see here.
is over time for them to become closer together.
In theory, but
In
it never does
theory.
happen.
Right. From my memory,
I could tell you if I looked up our budget. It'll take me a few minutes to get.
And I'd
Okay.
like it in 6 decimal places, please.
It would be.
I think it goes beyond that.
Okay.
It'll just take me a few minutes. Go on, if you want to move forward on it, and I'll look it up.
All right. Yeah, I think we probably are all in favor of this. So any other questions or comments from the
No.
board?
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And I'm actually going to do another resolution out of order here, Chris, if that's okay.
Sure, of course.
I'm going to go to resolution number 11, considering approving a change order for 40 Hillendale Road.
Okay. Actually, I'm almost at that number, if you can.
Oh, okay, and then, do you want me to read the resolution while you do that?
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Whereas on August 27th, 2024, the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees approved emergency storm drain line repairs at 40 Hillendale Road to be completed by Jabco Construction, and whereas upon completion of sewer line repairs at 40 Hillendale Road, the Superintendent of Public Works determined that further repairs are needed to adequately repair the storm drain line at 40 Hillendale Road, and whereas the Superintendent of Public Works received a quote from Jabco Construction to conduct the remaining sewer line repairs for $4,500, and whereas the Village of Rybrook is required to process a change order to allow Jabco Construction to perform the necessary repairs, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves the change order for Jabco Construction to perform the additional storm drain line repairs at 40 Hillendale Road in the amount of $4,500. So, can I have a motion and second, please, on that?
So moved.
Second.
Michael?
Yes. Explain. I'm very eager to hear this.
Good evening, members of the board. First of all, I want to say thank you for the 2 appointments to the Highway Department, so that is much appreciated. So I want to say thank you so much. With regards to this project, the village had replaced a 24-inch failing storm drain line, not sewer, storm drain line, with a 30-inch storm drain line. Upon completion, a short time after, the homeowner at 42 approached me that they were having some issues at their house with their pumps, and we further investigated, and it was determined that they had a connection to the old 24-inch pipe, which was abandoned in place, that was never carried over into the new pipe. So we performed a dye test, approximately 2 weeks ago. We had a camera crew out there, and they did verify that that pipe was dead-ended, hence not transitioned over into the new pipe. So the change order is to provide for that connection, which serves their sump pump and yard drain to tie back into the storm drain piping.
Okay, makes sense, so that there was, right, under the construction that we did, it changed an existing condition.
I was gonna, was it, yeah, an approved,
Basically,
Inadvertently,
inadvertently
right.
disconnected the pipe.
that was approved way back when,
That was pre-existing back in the day.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's an existing tap that was within the easement.
The storm drain on Hillendale, is that at the bottom of the hill, or where's 40?
Bottom of the hill. Yeah, but as soon as you make the right heading southbound, you come around the curve, it's on the
It's
left-hand
all
side.
down there. So would it help down there with the flooding going forward? Is this the 30-inch that you put in now?
We upgraded the 30-inch, so hydraulically, it's a 30 to 40% increase in capacity from a 24. Okay, so size-wise, mathematically, yes.
But-
Once again, it's mechanical, it's limited in size, so if you get a storm event
May just,
exceeding the capacity, you may still get some flooding. So I'm not gonna say it's not gonna
And the,
flood,
Right, but
but
it's-
yes, increasing the size and having a solid, smooth HDP pipe will help you coefficient-wise.
and the 30-inch that you replaced with a 24-inch, that was collapsed, the 24?
The 24 was collapsed in multiple places, the joints were open, was a failing concrete pipe.
Do you think for a long time that was taking place, or that just happened?
No, after Hurricane Irene, I believe, right? Ida. After Hurricane Ida, it all
Ida.
really exposed itself.
Okay, so good, maybe we'll see some improvements down there. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And did you have any questions, or, if you don't mind just coming up and introducing yourself?
Members of the board. My name is Merle Minks. I live at 42 Hillendale, which is the property adjacent to the one that he's referencing. So this storm drain that was replaced is actually in my backyard primarily, and I bought this house 2 years ago. And we bought it in April, and the entire summer, there's water like bubbling up in our backyard, totally flooded, mud pit for the entire time we lived there. And Mike has been helpful. It took over a year to get this approved and done. And now we're being told that it's something didn't get done correctly, and they're gonna have to dig up our yard again and put this pipe in there, which I understand is the right of the easement, which I support, helping our neighbor. But, one thing, I guess, and the reason I came here today is to try to get, some assurance, and I talked to Mike a bit about this, but, if there's something happens with this pipe that belongs to our neighbor, it's in our yard, and we have, I'm envisioning more issues with this, because I've had nothing but problems with water in our yard. And even to this day, since the job was done, it's just like a mud pit that we were gonna build a playground for our kids and everything. We can't do that. So, one, I'd like to, put it on record that I would really like to get the yard brought back to what it was. And two, to try to get some assurance that if, when we do this going forward, if there's a problem with it, that it's the city's responsibility to fix and not my responsibility. Because I'm the one that has to deal with it.
All right. Michael, if I could just ask Michael a couple questions?
Absolutely.
So I would imagine, since this is a right-of-way, that, if the pipe were to fail again,
We'd have to.
it would be our responsibility.
No, the pipe would be the responsibility of the homeowner, being that it's their service
Yeah.
that's tied into
Oh,
our
the service-
main line.
Wait a
So
bit.
it's their service line that we're reconnecting,
Okay.
that we didn't transition over. So it would be no different than any homeowner being allowed to tap into a catch basin or tap into a storm drain line. It's the homeowner's responsibility. Because we inadvertently disconnected the pipe, we're making it right, and we're
Right.
doing the right connection by reestablishing that tap. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be maintenance responsibility of the homeowner from 42, who's going to be maintaining it.
All right, so this
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
the,
From 40.
From
Who's going
40.
to be maintaining it, because that's their line.
it's the line from 40. So this
There.
wasn't the 30-incher that was, okay, this is the sideline.
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's all in my backyard.
Correct, because it's going through the easement. So, and that's what the pipe was doing before. It was still going through the easement into Mr. Minks's backyard and tied into the old 24-inch pipe. That pipe pre-existed us. So we're in essence reestablishing that connection.
Okay, what pipe is being, this is, to
There is
imagine.
it's a storm drain pipe from the neighbor's yard,
Number
number 40.
number 40
That runs
through 42,
through an easement
an easement.
to the drain line at 42. Correct.
Okay, so there's an easement, right, okay.
Easement that spans
So
both
unfortunately,
properties.
you know, that's an agreement that's in your title, I should say.
Yep, no, I understand that.
Yeah,
But what he's saying is, if anything happens with this pipe, say these guys move, their pipe breaks, my backyard's filling up with water, and then there's me trying to deal with it, and the city says, that's not my problem, that's their problem. And, you know, here I am, it's my responsibility to.
yeah, I think unfortunately it is, right?
Well, no, it falls under property maintenance
Maintenance?
code, so it would
Yeah,
still be
so they would have to
responsible
maintain it, okay.
as anything else, the neighbor is still responsible to
Yeah, it's a civil,
They would be,
Currently-
Yeah.
40 would be responsible, correct?
Currently, Mr. Minks is getting water in his backyard because the sump pump pipe actually blew when we had that major cold spell. So that water right now is discharging into the middle of his backyard, going across his yard, but that's the only thing that's keeping the neighbor from flooding. So we're aware of the situation, building department was out there, we're aware, and this is one of the steps to help remedy that.
Okay.
so we can't guarantee anything on private property except for issuing a property maintenance violation
Except
for not
what- I was gonna
maintaining.
say, except for what our code allows. except
Right,
for what our code-
exactly.
It would be a violation of the
Yeah.
property maintenance code.
And so, you know, I guess my suggestion would be is if you experience, once this all gets resolved, you know, if you experience issues again, the first step would be to reach out to the building department, right?
I've spoken with them, and they've been out there, and they're fully aware of the sump pump issues.
Yeah, so that there can be some code enforcement.
In the event.
So that your neighbor would have to take care of the issue that is theirs to take care of.
Yeah, because the code does not allow you to direct it onto another property, like, and then if it was broken, it could be directed, so
Correct.
it'll be a property maintenance issue.
Right now, as it's discharging, it is technically a violation, okay, but due to the extreme case that there's no other place to discharge the water, we've allowed it to happen because of this remedy, okay? And the homeowners at 40 are aware that they need to repair that pipe as well, and building department has inspected that, and they will be following up on that as well, as part of this project.
Okay.
Do they know that it's, even though it's in his backyard, it's their responsibility?
Yes, they do.
And I would imagine that's on file with the building department at this point, so.
Does that make you feel a little more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, this thing is like 6 feet underground, so, you know, the way this manifests is just the ground.
If you don't mind, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the right thing to do, and I think that it's obviously going to go forward. I just want to make sure that it's done correctly. And that was another question, is this like the village who's contracting this person and making sure that it's, so that's good, because, I mean, they did kind of like their own drainage job, and it broke 3 months later, and it's been flooding my yard. But yeah, I don't know if it's something that's written in if there's some contract or some agreement that it's explicitly clear, whether it's these people who own this house or the next couple that, you know, move into it, that if anything happens with it, it's their responsibility.
It's
It
whoever
would
the
stay
whoever the
with, it
property
stays
owner.
with the property.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not tied specifically to the owners, it stays with the property, and the parcel.
Okay. So, yeah.
So if I could add, so as part of this project, we are going to be also updating and finalizing the easement maps. So if it makes Mr. Minks feel more comfortable, I could talk to Mr. DeMarco, and we could potentially put a note on the easement map, just identifying that pipe, mark it out on the easement map where it is, and saying that this pipe is the property and maintenance of X, Y, Z. So,
Yeah.
Right.
so if you feel better about that, I'll speak to council, and we could add a note or something.
Makes it clear for history.
It makes it
memorializes
clear in the
it.
future.
Right.
20 years from now, something happens,
Right.
there will be records in Village Hall stating exactly what needs to happen there.
And I have another question. So was your backyard dry before all of this started?
Probably not, right?
Yeah, probably, no, it was not. So
Yeah.
we had that 24-inch broken storm drain that was, whenever it rained, it would totally flood our backyard. But during this project, they, you know, brought in a huge backhoe. They dug like an 8-foot deep trench down our entire property line, and they filled it up with a bunch of topsoil. But, and, you know, I'm not a landscaper. I don't know exactly what needs to happen, but the ground was compacted and there was grass on it, and now it's just a mud pit, which I know they did one spray of the hydro seed, which, it grew a little bit, but I'm hoping that, because I think there was an agreement. I got an email saying that the agreement is we're going to bring the yard back to what it was, apart from cutting 2 nice trees down. But there is, I think, a little more work that needs to be done to bring it back to what it is, because our whole entire side of the yard is like unusable at this point as a result of this, putting this storm drain for the city in.
It's the first time I'm hearing about any additional work needed.
Well, we'll take a look at it, and if it's not restored,
Yeah.
then we'll
Yeah,
do the right thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No, and again, what I was saying at the beginning wasn't just fluff. We're very proud of our departments and the way that they respond to residents. So I know staff will come take a look and do whatever we can.
Okay, good luck.
Hence why we're doing what we're doing. 'cause
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
the right thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
All right,
thanks, Mike.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have the resolution for the change order. I believe we have a motion and a second already?
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, and thank you to everyone for everything that's being done there. It's the village has been around a while. It's like an old house, you start opening up one thing and you find other things as well. And certainly that'll continue to be the case on other things that we do. All right, so going back,
Going back to the homestead?
going back, oh, right, yes, please. So
Yeah,
last
what'd you
year's
find?
base
Okay,
proportions.
so if, this is going to be, no, when I say homestead, non-homestead, I'm just going to simplify and say residential and commercial.
Fine.
Even though it's not really 100% accurate. It's basically 1 and 2 family residential. So if the homestead local law did not exist, the residential properties would be paying 86% of the property taxes, okay? Of the levy. But because homestead exists, last year, those residential properties paid 78.8 or 79% instead of 86. And then this year, with the new homestead, it goes to 79.9. So again, it goes from basically 79 to 80. Okay?
Okay.
Okay,
And non-homestead is the balance.
is the
All right,
balance.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. And that gives us a little sense of where it stands. And again, the ideal was for it to creep closer together over
Absolutely.
time, and that's what it's doing. It's getting closer
Slowly.
it's slowly getting closer
In
to
our
what it.
lifetime,
From, no, in 2005, they'll never get there quite.
Right, no, it probably won't. And so.
Which is a good thing for the 1 and 2 family homes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, this is just, a percentage of the overall tax levy of the town, I guess, of
No, of the
rural
village's
village.
portion
The
of the
village
levy.
portion of the town.
Correct. It's our village, it's based on, there's a different homestead rate in the town and Portchester and school districts, yeah,
Go figure.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Resolution number 5, considering an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County for sharing of the repository for integrated criminalistic information. RICI System.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enter into an IMA or intermunicipal agreement to access and continually update the county repository or the RICI System. Whereas the RICI System in Westchester County is a Westchester County-based central computer that allows for two-way electronic transmission and storage of data regarding criminal records and police blotter information among the Village of Rybrook, Westchester County, DCJS, and other law enforcement agencies. And whereas the information collected in the system will include a subject's arrest, booking, detention, or incarceration, including name, address, social security number, physical description, telephone number, fingerprints, palm prints, photographs, and related data. And whereas the duration of the agreement will commence on July 1st, 2025, and terminate on July 31st, 2029, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook hereby authorize the village to enter into an IMA with the county for data sharing as described in the attached agreement, and be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary to the county of Westchester for the purpose of entering into the subject IMA.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved. Second.
All right. This and the next are resources that our police department relies heavily upon, and certainly happy to enter into this agreement with Westchester County to keep these going. Chris, you want to add anything?
No, it's really just, this is the basic information that the officers need when they're doing their jobs.
Yeah. you want anything, or you're good? All right. All right.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you, and I forgot the number, so I have to go back for a second. Resolution number 6, considering an intermunicipal agreement between the Village of Rybrook and New York State and Westchester County for access to the TRAX system.
Okay, which is traffic and criminal software. Whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enter into a new IMA with New York State and Westchester County to access the track system for the Rybrook Police Department, and whereas the duration of the agreement is 5 years from the commencement of the agreement, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook authorizes the village to enter into an IMA with New York State and Westchester County for access to the TRAX subject system, subject to modification by council. And be further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary for the purpose of entering into the subject IMA.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion? and second?
Motion?
Second.
And I should have asked, during these, is there a cost to the village for these?
No.
That's even better. And that's why I wanted to point that out. All right, so we appreciate these agreements. Again, this is important for the police to be able to do their jobs, which is what we want. So, any questions or comments? And they're nice long agreements, too. These won't be up for a while. No.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Epstein? No. Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, I was about to say it. All right, thank you. Resolution number 7. I don't have a resolution here.
Okay, so I'm going to have to
But-
make this up as we go, if you don't
Resolution number
mind.
7, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Axon Enterprise, Inc. for police department tasers.
Okay. Whereas the Village of Rybrook is interested in entering into an agreement with Axon Enterprises for the purchase of new tasers to replace the old ones currently used by the village but are no longer supported. And whereas the village would like to purchase 30 improved tasers from Axon Enterprise Incorporated, which will provide one for each police officer and 2 spares. And whereas there is an agreement for 5 years with $29,639 paid annually for a total of $148,194. And whereas that the agreement will include warranty and training services with credit taken off for each year for returning old equipment. So, and whereas the village board approves this 5-year agreement subject to council modification.
And mayor and all, do we have to be authorized?
The mayor as well, and whereby the mayor and the village administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary for approving this agreement.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion?
Second.
You've been doing this way too long, Chris. If you're able to just rattle that off. That was pretty
All
good.
right, we try.
That was an excellent ad-lib resolution.
All right. Again, something that is required for the police to be able to effectively do their job.
Actually, it'd be worth, would the chief mind just kind of describing what the tasers do, the new
Yeah, I'd
tasers,
like to
how
know
they're better?
some
You wanna-
information.
You have to come up, Eric, sorry.
Educate us on the tasers.
Because this is really
The
a
new-
nice,
the old and the new.
these are really nice improvements
I was gonna
from
say.
the old system.
They don't electrocute.
Oh,
They do restrict their body movement once it gets a good charge on them. So the previous tasers that we're carrying right now is an X26P. Has 2 cartridges. The newer updated ones, the X10, has 10 shots. They're individual darts that you would hit the person with. And then you take a second shot. And the reason for that is you don't have a chance of missing with the darts on an angle in our older ones where they come out together. They're spaced so they go out the further away,
The further space than they go.
the spacing goes out further. So
This is
the
more
newer
like a
ones-
shotgun.
No, well, they were.
It's-
Now they're
it's
not.
handheld.
The new ones.
No,
No,
no, they're not.
it's still handheld. It's
No, I just meant in terms of the way it's scattered,
Well, no.
it's directed.
It's direct.
It has
That's,
a,
new ones are direct.
the old
Yeah.
green laser on it, and you, or even say hit someone here in the chest, then you point it at their leg to get a good distance and spread, and then it would take effect.
Okay, I misunderstood.
But they're much more accurate, too, as a
Extremely
nature.
accurate compared to the last ones, because they're two individual darts rather than two coming out at the same time. They're also quicker, because it comes out from a gunpowder charge instead of compressed air.
Oh,
Because why do you say, what happens if they don't connect?
Then you take a third shot.
Because there's,
You miss one
in other
shot,
words,
you
they
have
don't
a
work.
chance of taking you take another shot as you move to adjust yourself away from the perpetrator. And if you hit that one, then it'll incapacitate them.
All right, so in layman terms, if there's someone not
Make a good
familiar,
connection.
so in the old ones, it would be that you take one shot, the two come out at the
Come
same
out.
time. If one
Yeah, on an
misses,
angle about-
it's not going to be effective.
nothing happens, yeah.
What happens
In
if
this,
you only hit 'em with
you
one?
can, in this, you can fire once again. If that second, you go a third,
Correct.
and
Plus, all of them are more it's much more accurate.
Yeah,
Right,
they're
and again-
faster and longer distance.
faster, longer distance, and again, a form of non-lethal control to be able
Correct. You
to.
can control up to three persons with the one
Oh,
handheld unit.
3 people.
Wow.
so
Wow.
how old are the ones you have now?
At least 5 years old for some of them, and others are older.
And you said there's a laser beam, too, to help you accurately?
Yes. These are green laser beams on the new ones. The old ones are red.
The old ones have laser beams, too?
Yeah, laser beam.
They do. And you're going to charge them, charge them up,
To a battery pack.
battery pack?
The newer ones are chargeable.
And the officers like them, right? I mean, it's a good way to
Well, it's a lot better than having,
shoot somebody with a gun, yeah.
Ooh.
you know,
Yeah.
That's good. No, I think they're great. I think they,
anything less lethal.
I don't know.
Definitely another tool on the belt to have.
And I should say the chief has done a great job really researching this, finding the best product for us going forward and working out deals where he can
Yes.
to get the best pricing. So he's really done a great job, really dove into this to find the best product for us.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
No, I don't want to get tased, that's for sure.
Then don't go to the police academy.
Come watch the training when we do it.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I
Oh,
don't
the
know
other
what it
thing we
looks
should
like.
we should mention, so anytime for training or other things, they replace it as part of the agreement. It is not additional cost for that,
Correct. So
unlike the old ones.
on our prior ones, where every year we'd have to buy 40 to 60 cartridges to train with,
Mm-hmm.
any cartridge we use, train with, has a defect or what have you, it's all included in this maintenance plan now.
Oh, great.
They just send us the stuff without question.
Oh, good.
Well, we certainly hope that no officer has to use it, but we understand that there are times when it may be necessary.
Yeah, mostly disabled people, you know.
Yeah.
But can you
Great.
really come to the training?
You can come and watch. All
Are you volunteering?
No.
I don't think it'll be an issue.
right.
And now, besides in this package also, we get 5 instructors trained for free.
Oh.
Oh, that's good.
Well, it sounds like this board would like to know when that training is occurring.
I will let you know.
Thank you. You want an invite?
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board?
No. Thank
Tru-
you.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution, I'm losing track. Resolution number 8, considering declaring municipal equipment as surplus.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook has municipal equipment that is no longer a function of value or use by the village, but may have a resale value, and whereas now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees declares the equipment listed below as surplus, with these items to be published in the official newspaper of the village and sold to the highest qualified bidder through an approved electronic bidding process with Auctions International. There's 6 police department tablets, 6 police department mounts and keyboards, and 1 police department fingerprint scanner and required accessories. And be it further resolved that if no bids are received for the particular item, the items may be disposed of through appropriate means. And be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I'm thankful we're not selling the old tasers on this.
Anybody wants to bid on an old fingerprint machine?
An old fingerprint machine, and I would say something that, that was just brought to my attention because it's we do advertise these through the official paper of the village, and I do say that, here, I'm speaking for myself, I think mostly, but I'm sure I speak for this board, that we miss the Westmore News. It's, we miss having the local coverage that we desperately need in Rybrook to cover local events, and these bidding process, I
is.
think
It's a loss.
some of it is really lost, and I just, waxing poetic, I guess. So, any questions or comments on the surplus equipment?
Nope.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering reallocation of capital project funds, closed capital projects, and authorized general fund account.
Okay, and I'll try to summarize these a little bit. So now therefore be resolved, the following transfer between capital projects be approved. What we're basically doing here is taking last year's vehicle that still is remaining, a marked vehicle, and moving it into the current year capital, and that's a transfer in the amount of $63,250 from last year, and creating a new project, which is basically encompassing just the same 3 vehicles. And that's a modification of the same $63,250. So you're not authorizing more money, you're just moving them into a different account so we can close out the old one. And be it further resolved that the capital projects with no remaining balances are closed, the following ones, and removed from their capital project length schedule. And that's the Village Hall building repairs, disaster recovery appliance, and the village vehicle replacement for the one marked car. That means we've purchased these, we've now can close these capital projects.
There was also the Metro Regional Radio.
And also the Metro Regional Radio System, yep. And be it further resolved, the following capital projects be closed, removed from the capital link schedule, and the balance returned to the general fund. So these are small balances. The virtual server and infrastructure is a balance of $600, and the PD electronic radar unit, $13.48. You couldn't find $13 to spend. And be it further resolved, the following budget modification for capital fund and general fund be hereby approved. So you're increasing in that $613.48, transferring it from general obligation to increasing the appropriations and increasing the revenues to reflect that. That's basically a wash. Be it further resolved, the following capital projects be closed and removed and returned, and that the balance returned to debt service, and that's the large truck and Salter from 2023. So basically what this means is it's closed out and there's a balance of $120.34. The reason this is different is because it was paid for from debt, so any balances have to be returned to a debt reserve fund. And be it further resolved that the 2024-25 general fund account is established, and that's the police department taser program, so that's for the purchase of our tasers. And be it further resolved that the following capital project funds be transferred to the general fund to allocate funding to the police department taser program, and the following budget transfer modifications be approved. And that's basically closing out a police vehicle tablet replacement and stationary license plate reader, and moving that into the taser program through an interfund transfer.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion?
Second.
And again, this is why our audits come back clean. It's, I'm sure that $120.34 will make a big difference the next time we take out a ban.
Yeah, right. What it does is, when we get the debt reserves, funds that go into debt reserve, when we go to our annual budget, that debt, whatever's remaining in debt reserve, we can apply that to debt payments for next year. So it does offset. Obviously, that's a small one, but there's other ones when there's larger balances, it gets put into the debt reserve, and that helps pay for any future debt offset, in which we have very little debt, but our bands and our serial bonds, our one serial bond and our 2 bands, I think, can all be paid down.
Thank you, Chris. And, certainly thank you to Trish again for all the work that goes into
She
this.
keeps us going.
Creating these budget transfers, for someone looking at our documents online or watching from home, the bottom line is, this is what keeps the books clean in the village of Rybrook. And again, why our audits come back clean year after year after year.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Whenever I see these, it makes me so glad that I only took 1 year of accounting.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing this on a daily basis.
Oh, thank God.
She loves it. She loves it.
I mean, I have to imagine it's rewarding because you find everything finds its place, and it's, you know, but
You have to be a little bit OCD.
You should see the backup spreadsheets in budget preparation. Some of the ones that go behind the pages to build up to some of the pages we review. It's unbelievable the size of some of the data that gets put
well,
together.
you would certainly know you're knee deep in it right now.
Yes, we are.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board? All right.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Right into another one. Resolution number 10, considering fiscal year 24-25 budget modifications.
Okay, now therefore be resolved that fiscal year 2024-25 general fund be modified to reflect a budget adjustment to record the American Rescue Plan Act funds received and transferred to the capital fund as follows. And it's basically an increase on the revenues and appropriations of $2,917 and 14 cents. And on the capital fund, it's just transferring the same thing, the $2,917 and 14 cents. Reason this is before the board is we have to account for the ARPA funds very specifically and how that gets recorded for reporting on to the federal government.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
We were certainly very thankful to receive ARPA funds. We felt we used it in good ways. I mean, I think, you know, what we decided to do with those
Yes.
funds, you know, helped the village, helped our staff, and, you know, we're certainly going to,
Capital infrastructure, yeah, we were able to buy the Metro radio system, which was a major
Right,
upgrade.
that was major
Without
upgrade.
having to impact the taxpayers was a major win. And also some of our sewer work, we were able to get that completed, so yeah.
right, we were able to do major infrastructure work, help out our police department and our first responders.
Yep, some COVID incentives were built into
COVID
that too.
incentives. It'll certainly, these types of federal fundings will certainly be missed.
Yep. Yes, definitely.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 12, considering approval of the minutes for the meeting held on October 22nd, 2024.
Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meeting held on October 22nd, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seems like a long time ago.
I know.
All right, then we have one more add-on resolution because we already did one, right?
Yes.
We have before this one.
Yeah, so we have one add-on resolution, resolution number 14, considering waiving restricted hours for 20th television, beauty television show filming.
Whereas the village code outlines permissible hours of filming, indicating that filming may only take place from Monday through Friday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. And whereas an application by 20th Television Beauty Television Show for interior and exterior filming utilizing 800 Westchester Avenue, the application is in for Monday, March 10th from 9:30 a.m. to 12 midnight, with a rain date of Wednesday, March 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight. And whereas the 20th Television Beauty Television Show has requested that the permissible hours of operation be extended to allow filming and associated operation on the dates listed on the application to accommodate the production needs. And whereas the village code provides that the board may waive certain provisions of the filming code at their discretion, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby waives the filming restrictions with respect to hours of operation by allowing filming and related activities on Monday, March 10th from 9:30 to 12 midnight, or if necessary, the rain date of Wednesday, March 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight. And be it further resolved, the clerk is authorized to sign and execute all documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
I mean, to me, this is a fairly simple one. This
Yeah.
is all on private property. This is not on any village property.
Yeah.
And given that it's 800 Westchester, there really aren't any residential properties.
Yeah, it really
bordering
shouldn't be
this.
an impact.
There
yeah.
aren't
It's
really
a 3 hour
impacts to
and
neighbors.
It's a 3-hour waiver, basically.
Right, it's a 3-hour waiver that really shouldn't affect any of our residents. Any questions or comments
No.
from the board? All right,
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thank you. Administrator's report.
Just a couple of items. Again, the budget's due March 20th, so the village staff is very busy working on that. We've had our initial meetings with all the departments. We're kind of crunching numbers right now and working through to finalize the budget. Also, I should report that we've learned now that the Portchester School District has approved the traffic, parking, and pedestrian study. Remember, we talked about that last November, December? And at the end of the year, last year, they have now approved that now. What they talked about at their meeting in end of December, and now we just learned today that that was approved, so we're able to proceed with an RFP, and then we'll see where that comes in, and then there'll be another decision whether or not to proceed based on the RFP results. So we're just starting that process. So that's basically doing traffic, parking, and pedestrian study in and around certainly the middle school and potentially the high school with as an alternate in there. And the goal, and with the cost of that study would be theoretically, if everyone proceeds, it would be split equally, okay, with the school district. Sorry.
And we had met with the school district about this. It was brought to our they brought it to our attention about wanting to improve conditions there. And so this was the resolution that we had found, is to enter into an agreement with them for splitting the cost of the study. It was I thought, a productive meeting, good discussion. And we look forward to moving this forward, assuming that the costs come in,
Yes.
in a way that's agreeable to both parties.
Yeah, and the solution, both the reviewing of the problem and the solutions are likely village and school related. So we need to work together to come up with good solutions for everyone going through that area. And last thing is, certainly we're all aware, and we've received calls about the high Con Ed rates that have been coming in. We're certainly all aware of that. There's been lobbying. I think Trustee Fisher went to one last week, and there's been rallies and lobbying and letter writing and up to the Albany, and the municipalities are also talking about it and trying to come up with solutions to work together to try to see if we can reduce rates. So I just want to acknowledge that we're all aware of it, we're all concerned about it. We want to try to limit those costs going forward in the best way we can.
Absolutely, and residents should know that the village is doing what we can as well.
Yes.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
Yes, although we have one more meeting beforehand, I just want to remind everybody who's watching this that the village election is on March 18th. And we have 3 people running, 2 for re-election, 1 for new. And it's really important that you turn out, because without the Westmore News, I'm always a little bit frightened that people will pay no attention
Right.
to the election. And so please, March 18th.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, the next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be March 11th and March 25th, 2025. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.